Ladies and gentlemen, listen closely. For what I am about to share with you is not a suggestion, nor a mere recommendation, nor the passing thoughts of a wandering mind. It is law, a timeless universal law, as real as gravity, as powerful as electricity, as unbreakable as the truth that governs the rise and fall of nations. There are invisible forces in this world, silent yet relentless, guiding the destiny of every man and woman. Some understand these forces and rise to greatness. Most ignore them and fall into lives of quiet frustration. But today, I will reveal one of the most neglected and misunderstood truths of human power. Control your lusts, and money will chase you. Control your mind, and destiny will kneel before you. These are not poetic lines. These are not lofty thoughts designed to impress the mind. These are truths forged through centuries of human struggle. Truths that sit at the foundation of every empire, every fortune, every triumph. Lust, whether for pleasure, distraction, or momentary indulgence, drains a person of the very energy needed to build success. But the individual who rises above impulse, who masters his urges instead of submitting to them, becomes a force that the world cannot ignore. So I ask you now, pause. Stop the endless noise of the outside world. Still your racing thoughts. For just a moment, step away from all that pulls your attention downward. And listen, not with your ears, not with your logic, not with your restless imagination, but with the deepest, quietest, most powerful place within you. The place where truth is recognized instantly, the place where resolve is born, the place where your future is waiting to be awakened. Now, listen closely. Every human being walks through life carrying a silent war inside, a war that begins the moment we awaken each morning and does not end until we take our final breath. It is the battle between two forces, two voices, two versions of ourselves constantly pulling in opposite directions. One force pulls you toward distraction, toward temptation, toward the seductive weakness of the body. It whispers that comfort is enough, that pleasure is harmless, that procrastination can be excused. It tells you to surrender to impulse, to follow the path of least resistance, to let your lower nature rule your hours and decisions. This force does not scream, it seduces. It does not attack, it invites. And slowly, quietly, it drains a person of power. The other force pulls you toward purpose, toward achievement, toward the greatness that lives within the spirit. It is the voice that calls you to rise when the world sleeps, to focus when others drift, to sacrifice for a dream that only you can see. It urges you to discipline your actions, sharpen your mind, master your impulses, and walk the harder road because the harder road leads upward. This force does not bribe you with pleasure, it strengthens you with conviction. The average man loses this battle because he never realizes he is fighting. He lets the body win over the spirit. He lets the easy path defeat the right one. He allows moments of weakness to become habits that destroy his potential. But the disciplined man, he understands the war. He recognizes the enemy within. He chooses purpose over pleasure, strength over softness, long-term vision over momentary indulgence. And the man who consistently wins this battle becomes unstoppable, for he has mastered the only opponent who could ever truly defeat him. For no enemy, no obstacle, no circumstance can conquer the one who has first conquered himself. You must begin with definiteness of purpose, for without it, no man can rise, no dream can solidify, and no destiny can unfold. Everything great begins with a clear intention, sharp, focused, and unwavering. The question, therefore, is not whether you desire success, but whether you have defined it with absolute precision. What do you want? Not someday, not when life gets easier, not vaguely, as if wishing were enough, not more money, more success, or better life. These are wishes, not purposes. True purpose must be specific, measurable, definite, something you can see with your mind's eye, something you can describe in detail, something so clear that your subconscious mind recognizes it as a target and begins moving you toward it. Until you decide exactly what you want, your energy will scatter, your focus will weaken, and your life will drift. A man without a purpose drifts like a leaf in the wind, blown by temptation, pulled by distraction, consumed by lust, and diverted by the smallest pleasures. His days blur together. His efforts have no anchor. He chases moments instead of building a future. He becomes vulnerable to every influence around him because he has not chosen a direction of his own. But the man with purpose, he becomes like a great ship cutting through the storm. Yes, the waves may strike. Yes, the winds may push. Yes, life may test his resolve. But because he knows where he is going, he never loses direction. Purpose turns chaos into clarity. Purpose turns weakness into discipline. Purpose turns wandering into progress. The man who knows exactly what he wants walks with a different energy, speaks with a different confidence, and lives with a different spirit. And the world itself, sensing his clarity, begins to open paths for him that remain forever hidden to the drifting soul. Purpose alone is not enough. Many people know what they want, yet they never rise, never build, never achieve, because their purpose lacks fire. A cold purpose produces no movement, no urgency, no transformation. To create anything great, you must possess a burning desire, a desire so intense that it becomes the driving force of your life. This desire must be more than interest, more than a passing inspiration, more than a wish whispered when you feel motivated. A true burning desire is a living flame within the heart, a flame so hot, so fierce, so consuming that it reshapes your choices, your habits, your identity. It is the kind of desire that makes pleasure look weak, that makes temptation look foolish, that makes comfort seem dull. It pulls you forward when excuses try to hold you back. It gives you strength when your body begs for rest. It turns distraction into noise you no longer hear. When desire reaches this level, lust dies, because no temporary pleasure can compete with the long-term vision burning inside you. Weak impulses fall away naturally when they collide with a purpose that sets the soul on fire. When purpose becomes a burning force, decadence cannot control you. You rise above the cravings that enslave ordinary minds. You become someone who chooses discipline over indulgence, progress over comfort, vision over impulse. A mind ignited by desire is unstoppable. When the mind is on fire, the body becomes a servant, not a master. It obeys your decisions instead of controlling them. It follows your commands instead of leading you astray. This is the power of burning desire. It transforms you from a passive dreamer into a determined creator. It makes the impossible inevitable. It turns ambition into destiny. Then comes faith, the invisible power without which no great dream has ever been realized. After purpose is defined and desire begins to burn, there remains a vast space between where you stand and where you intend to be. That space is crossed not by luck, not by chance, not by circumstance, but by faith. Faith is the power that bridges the gap between your current reality and your envisioned future. It is the inner certainty that speaks louder than the doubts around you. It is the quiet voice that says, "Keep going," when the world tells you to stop. It is the inner command that insists you will arrive, even when your eyes cannot yet see the path. Understand this. Faith is not belief without evidence. Faith is belief that creates evidence. It is the decision to trust the image in your mind more than the obstacles in your path. It is choosing the promise of your future over the limitations of your present. Every great achievement in history, every invention, every empire, every fortune, every masterpiece began as an unseen picture in the mind of the dreamer. Before it existed in the world, it existed in imagination. Before it took form, it lived as a possibility held firmly by someone who refused to let go. And faith whispered to that dreamer, "Hold this image. Guard it with your life. Speak it until your voice shakes the doubt from your spirit. Act on it even when nothing seems to move. Persist, 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 because one day the world will match the picture you see." Faith transforms invisible visions into visible results. It rearranges circumstances, attracts opportunities, strengthens the will, and awakens the powers of the mind. When faith is alive within you, the impossible becomes reachable, the difficult becomes doable, and your destiny begins to draw nearer with every step you take. Such is the force that lifts ordinary people into extraordinary lives. Faith is the bridge, and you must walk across it. You must command your mind daily. No kingdom runs itself, no army marches without orders, and no mind, left unattended, moves toward greatness on its own. The mind is powerful, but it is also impressionable. If you do not speak to it with authority, the world will speak to it for you. Therefore, you must train yourself to give daily, deliberate, decisive commands to your inner world. Every morning, before the noise of the world enters, you speak first. Before messages, worries, responsibilities, and distractions rush in, you must plant your own instructions into the fertile soil of your subconscious. Morning is the moment your mind is most open, most receptive, most ready to be shaped. Speak boldly, speak intentionally, speak with the voice of a commander. Every night before sleep takes you, you decree again. For the subconscious mind works while you sleep. It builds images, rearranges thoughts, and strengthens beliefs. If you impress the right commands before resting, your mind continues the work without your effort. Repeat your commands until your subconscious accepts them as truth. I am disciplined. I am wealthy in mind and soon in material. I desire nothing weak. I chase only purpose. I rise above my lower nature. I control my emotions, and I direct my mind to riches, purpose, and power. Say these words not casually, not mechanically, but with emotion, conviction, and focus, because emotion is the language of the subconscious. Say them until the echo becomes louder than your doubts. Say them until your actions begin to align with your declarations. Say them until your life starts reshaping itself around the truths you planted. Auto, suggestion is the steering wheel of destiny. It turns vague wishes into focused beliefs, beliefs into habits, habits into results, and results into the life you choose to build. Command your mind daily, because the one who controls his thoughts ultimately controls his future. Understand this: the greatest factory in existence is your imagination. Before any building rises, before any invention appears, before any fortune is created, before any life is transformed, everything begins first as an image within the mind. Imagination is the silent workshop where the unseen becomes the blueprint for all that will eventually be seen. In this mental workshop, you build empires before they exist in the physical world. You shape ideas into plans and plans into reality. You construct futures that others cannot yet perceive, and you walk mentally into the life that your body will later inhabit. The world you experience outwardly is nothing more than a delayed reflection of the world you have constructed inwardly. There, within your imagination, you create fortunes long before you touch them. Wealth is first a mental state, a mindset, a vision. Prosperity begins not with money, but with the capacity to envision opportunities, solutions, products, and possibilities that others overlook. Every millionaire, every creator, every innovator has lived their success mentally before they lived it physically. In imagination, you design the life your hands will later craft. You picture the home you will live in, the work you will do, the influence you will have, the person you will become. These images, held with clarity and emotion, are seeds, seeds that the subconscious mind nurtures until they grow into reality. Anything you can hold in the workshop of imagination with faith and desire, you can one day hold in the palm of your hand. Imagination is not fantasy. It is the spiritual blueprint of achievement. When directed with purpose, it becomes the architect of destiny. When activated with faith, it becomes the engine of creation. And when fueled by burning desire, it becomes the unstoppable force that brings dreams into form. But no dream, no matter how brilliant, no matter how inspiring, no matter how passionately imagined, can become reality without organized planning. Dreams are the spark, desire is the fire, faith is the fuel. But planning is the structure that turns the flame into a controlled, unstoppable force. A man may fantasize all his life. He may fill his mind with visions, hopes, and intentions, but wealth flows only to the mind that organizes itself. Success demands order. It demands structure. It demands a blueprint. Ask yourself with clarity and seriousness, what must I do today? Not tomorrow, not when I feel ready, not someday. Today is the builder's day. Today is the bricklayer's hour. Today is where momentum is born. What must I do this week? Think in terms of progress, not perfection. What measurable steps will move you from intention to action, from vision to foundation? What must I master this month? Every month must add a new skill, a new understanding, a new discipline. Growth must be continuous, deliberate, and structured. Write it down. Goals not written remain fantasies. Once written, they become commands. Divide each goal into steps, small, clear, manageable steps that create a path forward. Create structure in your days and weeks so your purpose becomes a routine rather than a reaction. Form alliances with people who share your vision, who strengthen your weaknesses, who elevate your thinking. Build systems, habits, schedules, processes that guarantee consistent progress even on the days when motivation fades. For riches flee chaos, confusion, and disorder. They slip away from the undisciplined, the scattered, the unprepared. But they bow to the man who plans, to the man who builds his life with intention, to the man who treats his dream with the seriousness of an architect designing a towering structure. Organized planning transforms desire into destiny. It turns hope into achievement. It is the bridge between imagination and manifestation. Persistence is the force that separates those who dream from those who achieve. It is the unseen line that destiny draws between the ordinary and the exceptional. Every great journey, every meaningful pursuit, reaches a point where the path becomes steep, the applause fades, and the world seems uninterested. This is the moment where most people stop. This is the silent crossroads where countless dreams die, not because they were impossible, but because the dreamer surrendered too soon. And yet, it is in this exact moment that persistence reveals its true power. To persist is to continue when your energy runs dry, when the night feels long, and when doubt whispers louder than hope. It is to move forward even when the results are slow, the progress invisible, and the reward uncertain. Persistence is not loud, glamorous, or dramatic. It is steady, disciplined, and often lonely. But it is also the single greatest force that transforms intention into reality. Success does not belong to the fastest, the smartest, or the most talented. It belongs to the one who refuses to stop. You must persist when you are tired, because fatigue is temporary, but regret is permanent. You must persist when lonely, because greatness often begins in solitude. You must persist when no one claps, supports, or believes, because external validation is a luxury, not a requirement for success. True champions build their destiny with their own hands, fueled by their own determination. Tell yourself again and again, I will go on, I will rise, I will continue. Allow these words to become the rhythm of your journey, the fire beneath your steps. Persistence is the price of greatness, and only those willing to pay it ever discover how extraordinary they truly are. No man succeeds alone, and no great achievement in history has ever been the result of a single mind working in isolation. Human potential multiplies when aligned with other powerful minds. This is the principle of the master mind, Napoleon Hill's timeless truth that success expands exponentially through the right alliances. One mind can hold a spark, but a group of aligned minds can create a fire strong enough to reshape destiny. When you surround yourself with people who uplift your vision, you elevate your thinking. When you walk with individuals whose passion, discipline, and ambition match or exceed your own, your potential expands beyond what you could accomplish by yourself. Every person in your circle carries an energy, a vibration that influences your direction. Some people drain your drive, dim your ideas, and weaken your discipline. Others ignite your imagination, strengthen your resolve, and sharpen your focus. The people you allow into your mental space determine whether your dreams grow or wither. A mastermind alliance isn't simply a group of friends. It is a carefully chosen circle of individuals committed to growth, purpose, and mutual success. It is a network of minds that challenge, support, and push each other toward higher levels of achievement. The mastermind is like a network of power sources. One battery can light a small room, but a unified system of energy can illuminate an entire city. In the same way, one determined mind can make progress, but a united group of determined minds can create breakthroughs. Ideas become sharper, strategies become clearer, and obstacles become smaller when multiple perspectives and strengths come together with a shared objective. This is why you must choose your circle with precision. Every person you attach yourself to either becomes an anchor or a catalyst. Your environment can enslave you with negativity, doubt, and small-mindedness, or it can elevate you with courage, clarity, and conviction. If you walk with people who fear risk, you will inherit their limitations. But if you walk with those who dream bigger than you, who think boldly, who pursue excellence relentlessly, you will naturally rise with them. Greatness is rarely a solo climb. It is built through alliances of vision, discipline, and belief. Choose wisely, for your mastermind will shape the future you step into. Deep within you lies a silent, sovereign force, your subconscious mind. It is the hidden king that rules your destiny from behind the scenes, operating without noise, without rest, and without your conscious permission. While you go about your day, speaking, walking, deciding, reacting, and dreaming, this invisible power is constantly shaping your behavior, your habits, and ultimately your reality. It works while you are awake and continues its labor while you sleep, turning every thought you feed it into the blueprint of your future life. Whatever you repeatedly impress upon this inner mind, through emotion, repetition, desire, fear, or belief, becomes a command it diligently obeys. The subconscious does not analyze or question, it accepts. It does not argue with you, it responds. If you tell it you are weak, it finds ways to manifest weakness. If you continuously feed it doubt, it will sabotage your progress with hesitation and fear. If you allow negative images to dominate your thoughts, your subconscious will reproduce those images in your experiences. But the same law works in your favor when you direct it with intention. Feed it strength, and it begins to construct a stronger version of you. Feed it discipline, and your habits naturally align. Feed it purpose, and your life begins to move with clarity and direction. Feed it wealth and thought, and you program your mind to act, attract, and create opportunities that align with abundance. Your subconscious responds fiercely to whatever you plant, be it seeds of power or seeds of destruction. This hidden king shapes your future long before you step into it. Guard what you allow into it. Command it with purpose. Because the thoughts you whisper to your subconscious today will become the life you walk in tomorrow. And now we arrive at the turning point of all achievement decision. Every great life, every mighty destiny, every transformation that reshapes a man's existence begins with one defining moment. The moment he decides who he will become and what he will no longer accept from himself. Decision is not a wish. It is not a hope. It is a declaration, a line drawn in the sand, a command issued to your future, your habits, your mind, and your spirit. Decision is the flame that burns the bridges behind you, leaving no path back to weakness, hesitation, or the version of yourself you have outgrown. It is the sword that cuts through excuses, removing the false stories and soft lies you've told yourself for years. Decision is the force that transforms intention into movement, desire into discipline, and vision into accomplishment. In the moment of true decision, something shifts inside you. The mind sharpens, the heart steadies, the path becomes clearer, not because obstacles vanish, but because they no longer have the power to stop you. A man who has decided becomes a different kind of man, unshakable, focused, and willing to walk through difficulty without breaking. Say it now with conviction. I decide to rise. I decide to conquer myself. I decide to discipline my mind. I decide to master my desires. I decide to hold a purpose higher than pleasure. For without decision, there is no direction. Without decision, there is no power. Without decision, there is no transformation. You must decide, you must act, you must persist. And the moment you do, the universe begins to rearrange itself to match the identity you have chosen. Your destiny begins the second you decide you are worthy of it. Consider the man who wastes his nights in cheap entertainment. Hours slip away into meaningless noise, And with every passing night, his dreams shrink a little more. His potential fades. His energy collapses under the weight of idleness. His confidence disappears because he knows, deep down, that he is betraying his own future. He becomes a spectator in his own life, watching others rise while he remains trapped in cycles of distraction and regret. And then consider the man who guards his time with the discipline of a warrior. While others drift, he reads, he studies. He builds skills that sharpen his mind and strengthen his character. He plans his moves with clarity and executes them with intention. He refines his vision daily, shaping his destiny deliberately instead of leaving it to chance. Where one man wastes his nights, the other invests them. One arrives at regret, the other arrives at power. Or look at the young entrepreneur who once struggled with addiction to instant gratification. Every impulse ruled him. Every temptation weakened him. But one day, one decisive day, he declared he would no longer be a slave to his lower nature. That moment became the beginning of a new life. He replaced his destructive habits with productive ones. He structured his days with discipline and purpose. He mastered his appetites instead of obeying them, and month by month his entire life transformed, not by luck, not by chance, but by law, the same law that governs all success. Self-control becomes wealth. Focus becomes opportunity. Purpose becomes prosperity. When a man takes command of himself, life bends to his command. Hear me now, and hear me with full attention. A man who cannot control his lust cannot control his future. For lust is not merely a physical urge. It is a thief. It steals ambition quietly. It erodes discipline silently. It weakens willpower one indulgence at a time. A mind consumed by lust becomes scattered, unfocused, and easily pulled from its purpose. The man who chases pleasure becomes a wanderer, drifting without direction, spending the very energy he needs to build his destiny. But when that same energy is gathered, conserved, and directed with discipline, it transforms into something extraordinary. It becomes clarity, a powerful, penetrating clarity that allows a man to see beyond temptation and into destiny. It becomes courage, the kind of courage that strengthens a man from the inside out. It becomes productivity, a force that moves mountains and reshapes circumstances. Redirected desire becomes creativity, innovation, and inner authority. What once enslaved him now becomes fuel for mastery. The man who controls his desires becomes magnetic. He no longer begs the world for recognition. The world begins to recognize him. His presence grows heavier, stronger, more influential. His mind sharpens. His decisions become firmer. His actions gain weight and consequence. He stops acting like a man pulled by urges and starts acting like a man guided by purpose. And in that state of inner strength, something remarkable happens. Money begins to seek him. Opportunity begins to unfold before him. Influence begins to rise around him. Respect begins to surround him. People are drawn to the man who has conquered himself. They sense his discipline, his direction, his power, and life itself begins to reward him, not because of luck, but because he has aligned himself with a higher law, the law that power belongs to the man who has mastered his own nature. So I ask you now, with the full weight of truth behind these words, will you continue a life ruled by impulse, governed by fleeting urges, tossed about by the winds of temptation? Or will you rise to a higher plane of existence, one where your mind, not your cravings, dictates the course of your life? The decision is yours, and it is a decision that will echo across the rest of your days. Decide tonight, this very moment, that you will direct your mind with unwavering authority. Decide that you will guard your energy with the vigilance of a sentry protecting a kingdom. Decide that you will give your life a purpose so strong, so towering, so unshakable, that temptations crumble and shatter before its power. For when purpose rises, weakness falls. When conviction burns, distractions die. Choose to control your lusts. Choose to master your mind. Choose to create a destiny worthy of your deepest potential. The world does not need another man who drifts without aim, wasting the precious gift of life. The world needs you, focused, committed, powerful, aligned with a mission greater than the urges of the moment. Stand up mentally and rise inwardly. Declare your purpose boldly. Feed your desire with discipline and direction. Strengthen your faith until it becomes a living force. Train your mind until it obeys your command. Guard your energy like treasure. Build your plan with precision. Persist beyond doubt, beyond fatigue, beyond fear. And remember this eternal truth: when a man conquers himself, the universe begins to open its treasures to him. Doors appear where walls once stood. Roads unfold where none existed. Life bends to the will of a disciplined spirit. Now go act. Move with intention. Become the master of your mind, and success will chase you with open arms.